What if the strongest faith doesn't shout, but quietly trusts without seeing? Why do some people need proof to believe, while others believe before anything changes? And what if the breakthrough you're waiting for doesn't require your presence, but your trust? There is a moment in life when logic reaches its limit, when experience, knowledge, and control can no longer provide answers. In that moment, something deeper is revealed, not what you know, but what you believe. A man once approached with authority, yet carried a concern that power could not solve. He was not weak, not without influence, not without resources. In fact, he was used to giving commands and seeing immediate results. When he spoke, others obeyed. When he acted, things moved. But this situation was different. Someone under his care was suffering. Not a minor inconvenience, not something that could be ignored, but a serious condition that required intervention beyond human ability. And despite everything he had, he could not fix it. This is where many people begin to struggle. When control disappears, frustration grows. When solutions are limited, fear begins to rise. But instead of reacting with panic or pride, he chose a different path. He sought help. Not from someone with higher rank, not from someone with greater influence, but from someone whose authority was not visible in titles or position, but in something deeper. And here is where the story shifts. When he approached, he did not demand. He did not try to prove his worth or explain his status. Instead, he came with humility. He recognized that what he needed could not be earned, it had to be given. This alone is powerful, because humility opens doors that pride keeps closed. It allows a person to receive what they cannot achieve on their own. But what he said next reveals something even greater. He acknowledged something that many overlook, the nature of authority. He understood that true authority does not depend on physical presence. It does not require proximity. It operates through command, through power that extends beyond what can be seen. He made a connection between what he experienced in his own life and what he believed about this moment. I understand authority, he essentially expressed. I give orders and they are carried out. I trust that when I speak, things happen. In the same way, you do not need to come physically. Just speak, and it will be done. This is a different kind of faith. Not a faith that waits for visible action. Not a faith that needs to see movement before believing, but a faith that trusts in the word alone. This kind of faith is rare, because most people want confirmation. They want signs, evidence, reassurance. They want to see before they believe. But this man believed before anything changed. He trusted in something unseen. And this is what stood out. It wasn't just the request, it wasn't just the need, it was the understanding, the clarity, the confidence in something that could not yet be proven. This kind of faith is not loud, but it is strong. It does not argue, but it stands firm. It does not demand, but it trusts. And in that moment, something remarkable happened. There was recognition, not of status, not of position, but of faith. A faith that stood out not because it was emotional, but because it was grounded. Not because it was desperate, but because it was confident. This challenges the way many approach their own situations. Often people come with uncertainty. They hope, but they doubt. They ask, but they question. They wait, but they worry. But here, the approach was different. There was clarity in the request. There was confidence in the outcome. There was trust in the process. And that trust made all the difference. The response was immediate. Not because of the urgency of the situation, but because of the strength of the faith behind it. The need was real. The problem was serious, but the faith was greater. And the result followed, not through visible action, not through physical presence, but through a word. This changes how we understand distance. Because often people think that if something is far, it is harder to reach, that if they are not close, the outcome is uncertain. But this moment shows something different. Distance does not limit power. Absence does not reduce authority. What matters is not how close you are physically, but how deeply you trust. This is where many struggle. They measure possibilities based on what they can see. They limit outcomes based on what they understand. They hesitate because they cannot control the process. But faith operates differently. It moves beyond visible limits. It trusts beyond logical boundaries. It believes even when there is no immediate evidence. This is not blind belief. It is confident trust. It is built on understanding, not ignorance. The man did not believe randomly. He believed because he understood authority. He recognized patterns. He applied what he knew to what he could not yet see. This is important because faith is not separate from understanding. It is often built through it. When you recognize how something works, it becomes easier to trust it. And when you trust it, you act differently. You speak differently. You respond differently. This kind of faith brings peace. Not because everything is resolved instantly, but because there is confidence in the outcome. It removes the need to control every detail. It replaces anxiety with assurance. It shifts the focus from what if it doesn't work to I trust that it will. And this shift is powerful because it changes not just the situation, but the person within it. The story does not focus on the struggle, it highlights the response. It does not dwell on the problem, it emphasizes the faith, and in doing so, it invites reflection. How do you respond when you face something beyond your control? Do you try to force solutions? Do you wait for visible proof before believing? Or do you trust even when you cannot see? This is where growth happens. Not in moments of certainty, but in moments of uncertainty. Not when everything is clear, but when clarity is limited. Faith is tested when there is distance between the promise and the outcome, when there is a gap between what you hope for and what you see. And in that gap, your response reveals your belief. Do you hold on, or do you pull back? Do you trust, or do you doubt? The centurion's story is not just about a miracle, it is about a mindset, a way of thinking that goes beyond circumstances, a way of believing that is not dependent on visible results. And this mindset can be applied in everyday situations, in personal challenges, in moments where answers are not immediate. Because faith is not reserved for extraordinary moments. It is built in ordinary ones, in small decisions, in quiet trust, in choosing to believe even when there is no immediate change. This is where strength develops, not through constant success, but through consistent trust. And over time, this trust grows. It becomes more stable, more confident, more rooted, until it no longer wavers easily, until it stands firm, even when situations are uncertain. This is the kind of faith that changes things, not just externally, but internally. It brings clarity in confusion, peace in tension, confidence in uncertainty, and it shifts perspective. From focusing on limitations to recognizing possibilities, from seeing obstacles to trusting outcomes. This does not mean challenges disappear, it means they are approached differently, handled with steadiness instead of panic, faced with confidence instead of fear. And this difference matters, because it influences every decision, every reaction, every step forward. So the question becomes personal. Where is your trust placed? Are you relying only on what you can see? Or are you willing to trust beyond that? Are you waiting for everything to make sense before believing? Or are you willing to believe even when it doesn't? These questions are not easy, but they are necessary, because they reveal the foundation of your faith. And once that foundation is clear, growth can begin. You do not need perfect understanding. You do not need complete control. You do not need immediate answers. What you need is trust, steady, consistent, unshaken by distance or delay. And when that kind of trust is present, something changes, not just around you, but within you. Thank you for watching this video. If this message encouraged you, don't forget to like, follow the channel, and share it with someone who needs this today. Your support helps spread this message of faith and trust to more people. And be sure to watch the full video to go deeper into what it truly means to believe beyond what you can see.